it on a, I put the URL on it.
Okay, we're broadcasting now, guys. So we're broadcasting live. Let's see how many people we have. Other participants. Okay. Do we have to let them in? That's the one thing I want to know. Last time. Welcome everybody to our CCIDC board meeting. We're still waiting for a couple of board members to sign in here. We don't quite have a quorum, so we're going to give it just a couple of minutes, but we wanted to welcome you all. Okay, we're a couple of people. Hutan, welcome Hutan, just a second here. Taylor's having some issues with Zoom. Hang on. Hi, Hutan.
Everyone, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I had a problem with Zoom.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. Hi, Ed. Ed's here.
I'm here. I just
Okay.
can't use my camera because it says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
I didn't stop you. No, I didn't stop you. You can. You're co-host now. There you are. I had to make you co-host. Okay.
Hi, Ed.
Hi.
How are
Good
you
morning.
doing?
Okay. Taylor's having trouble too here. Just a second. Hang on. All right, let's see. Is everybody, do we have enough to, we don't, we need one more. I just messaged Taylor. So while we're waiting, why don't we have all the board members introduce themselves so we can at least get started that way? And then I will try work on getting Taylor online here.
Sure. I guess
Ed, you want to start?
Yeah. Ed Melgar, the board's chair, and I'm my Idea representative.
Christiana, you're next in my line, so I'm going to have you go.
Sure, Christiana White, and I am the treasurer.
And you are a public
Member, yes.
Okay. George, you're next on my line, so you'll go.
Sure, I'm George Brazil from San Francisco, ASID representative to the board.
Patricia, I see you next. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Patricia Johnson. I'm a public, well, are we voting today? Or
you were voted in at our last meeting. If you remember.
Okay. I'm a new public director, and my background is codes.
Wonderful. Hutan?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hutan Hamedani. I'm a vice chair. I'm commercial CID and representing IDS.
Okay. Carol?
I'm Ken's, and I represent NKPA, and that's all.
Wonderful. And then I think that's everybody I have here. I'm, of course, Rose Wiebe. I'm the executive director of CCIDC, representing CCIDC. All right. Carly, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Carly Roden. I'm the executive assistant and the certification coordinator for CCIDC.
Wonderful. Okay, we need to get, let's see. Carly, can you get on with Taylor and get her going, and then we'll see, because I think, let's see, 1, 4, 5, 6, and we have 9 members. What's the math on that?
We need 70%.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have,
Yeah, we need one more.
we need one more member before we can call this meeting to order.
Is Taylor wanting me to call her?
Will you, yeah, can you call her and then see how we can get, because she's having trouble getting on.
Yeah.
She may need to call in for now until we can get it worked out. Sorry, just letting her know. Okay, so until we get to her, I know Linda's supposed to be coming on. So we have a question here. Have the board members speak more directly into their microphone? I know, Carol, when you were speaking, you were a little quiet. I noticed that. There we go.
My
Okay.
computer closer.
Yeah, good idea. So sorry guys for the, I'm watching for new people or people coming in just to make sure. So we're missing on roll call so far. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. We'll get this over here so everybody can be on the same share screen. This one. So everybody can follow along. There we go. There, can everybody see the list that I have? Okay.
Taylor is going to be calling in.
Okay, so we'll watch for Taylor calling in. Get her on there, and then I think we'll be I'm watching for that. So I have the board members, the PowerPoint will kind of be something for everybody to look at so that you guys can follow on. You guys all have your board binders up and available because this is a little, it will be a little different, but it'll refer you to the pages that are in the board binder. Okay, let's see. How are we doing? Any question and answer?
Carol, Laura Ridley says hello. Oh.
Rose,
Yes.
it's Patricia. When you put us on view your screen, I can't access, maybe you can help me. I can't access the other documents on my screen so that I can refer
At
to.
If
the
you
top,
just hit
it should,
escape, yeah, or
Oh, okay.
minimize the screen that you've
Thank
got.
you.
yeah, at the very top, it'll allow you to.
Got it. I did it. Thanks.
Awesome.
Okay. So so can you check through the call-in list and look for
Yes.
Taylor and for Linda? Because if we have them calling in, participants, Carol Lampkins, panelists, 8. I can get them because if we need to look.
Okay,
for,
so Taylor's on and I'm allowing her to talk. And then
do we have Deborah or
So we have somebody on the
if we
phone.
have Linda?
Taylor. I'm
Hi,
unmuted
Taylor.
now. Hi.
Okay.
do
Awesome.
not see Deborah and not see Linda.
Okay. So if you'll keep checking for them, then we can get them. So I think we're good now. We have enough for a quorum.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm going to call this meeting to order.
Okay. So hang on just a second here. So
George, can you run through the roll call, please?
unmute yourself, George. Okay, there you go.
Hello, sorry about that. I am George Brazil, so I'm here. Hutan Hamadani,
Here.
here. Patricia Johnson,
Here.
Carol Lampkins,
Here.
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 Eduardo Melgar,
Here.
here. Deborah Ogden is absent at the moment. Taylor
I'm here.
here. Great. Linda Thomas and Christiane White.
Here.
Great.
Okay, so next from that. Got that? Motion for the officers. So I need someone on page
Can we get
6.
a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
No, not that. We have to
Not yet.
Oh, where are we?
motion for the
Okay.
officers.
We need a motion for the. I'm not seeing that right.
Can I make the motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I move to accept the
Oh, wait.
following as off.
Actually, no, you can't because
I
you're
know,
one of the
that's what-
officers. Sorry.
that's what I
No,
was
you can't.
curious to know.
I can
Okay,
make it. I can make the motion.
perfect.
I move to accept the following as officers of the CCIDC Board of Directors for the 2020 and the 2021 session. Eduardo Melgar. Do I need to say CID, IIDA?
You don't. You can.
Okay. Hamadani, I'm sorry if I messed that up. George Brazil and Christine White. I probably
Can you
should have
say,
said-
would you say what the positions are, please?
Start over. Eduardo Melgar, Chair. Hutan Hamadani, Vice Chair. George Brazil, Secretary. Christine White, Treasurer.
It's Christiana White, but yes.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. Carly, you're noting the motions, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and we need a second.
I'll second. This is Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor. Okay, is there any discussion? Do we have any discussion? All right. You can call for the vote now, Ed.
Can I call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Okay,
All right.
approved.
Welcome to the new next board. All right. So now you get to do the meeting minutes, Ed.
Sure. Can I get a motion to approve the January 18th, 2020 meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the January 18th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
Second. It's Patricia.
Do we need to call for a vote?
Yeah, but you need any discussion first.
Do we have any discussion?
Now you go.
Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Do we have any abstentions? Okay, meeting minutes are approved. going to move on to tab 2, which is the treasurer's report. Christiane, can you take us through that, please?
So this
You might need
is-
to turn it up, Christiana. We can barely hear you.
I don't know how to turn it up.
Um,
I'll just
Did
talk louder. Is that
Yeah.
better?
yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So this is for the first quarter of 2020 for January through March. And we had a total income of $72,605. And our expenses for the same period were $72,507. So just barely above break even. Sorry. Hard to do when you have a 5-year-old around showing bugs in my face. So our total assets were $49,089. We have 48,000, little over 48,000 in the checking at the end of March. Are there any questions about those two financials? Okay. So we'll move on to budget versus actual for Q1. And our total income for the budget for the year was $273. And as I already said, we were at $73.80 for year to date. So still about 27%, which is pretty much on par for the first quarter. And then for expenses, our budget total expenses was $317, and as per the P&L, we were at $72,517, so about 23%. So again, right on par for the first quarter. Any questions about where we are at the end of March?
So, granted, this is the first quarter, but are we feeling good about this financially? Because it really seems like we're actually right on target or just below as far as spending goes, which is good.
Right, and I always try and monitor spending
course.
to income. I always try and monitor it, and I think that, you know, especially with everything that's gone on, we're still the same. Even though our income has been cut by half with the PPP loan, I think we're going to be okay. I'm trying to keep everything as tight as possible with the outlay that we have going with the Idex exam, trying to keep things as minimal as possible. We really don't have a lot of spending. We had talked at the strategic planning meeting. Our copier lease is a 5-year lease. It's not a 3-year lease. So we have another 2 years. Yeah, another 2 years on that. So I wish it's something that we could get out of. I was kind of bummed when I read that. But making as many cuts as possible, you know, I think with us not being there, it's helped questions and stuff go, help things go down a little bit, but not much, you know. So I am going to be meeting with Cox Communications to see if there's any way we can cut our like phone expenses, because they're always willing to talk to you about that sort of stuff. You know, our internet's amazing. We need it to be amazing, but the phone, you know, is there any way we just can save there? They also do our alarm, but that's so minimal. The cost is so minimal. I wouldn't want to change that, but we'll see what kind of deals we can get with them. But yeah, just keeping our expenses down. The marketing, I know we're going to talk about that in a little while. That's somewhere we can maybe do something else creative and maybe save there or change or save. So I just keeping an eye on what the spending is so that we have money for the basics and for what we need it for the Idex exam.
Awesome.
All right. So let's go.
Let's move on.
Move on.
Rose, it's you're up.
Okay.
Compliance.
Yep. Hang on just a second. I'm working 2 computers here, so let me get to.
Yeah, I was doing the same.
Okay. So make sure I can. Yeah, I think that. There we go. For the compliance report, so you can see as of the end of May, so the beginning of June, we have 5,383 people that have total number certified. Of that, 1,793 are totally current. So those are the active CIDs. 3,210 no longer active, and of 380 are are delinquent. So I was looking at the number 465 from last time, and I was wondering why that number was so different. And I was looking in how we calculate it, and I think that last time we looked at that number wrong, because we pull the number from Access, and there's two fields that we check when we pull the number. And I think that when we pulled the report, we didn't check one of the numbers, so that number may have been incorrect at that time. So I think one of the items that we checked wasn't checked correctly, because if you see the numbers 348, all of a sudden 465, and then back to 380. So I think that the January report was incorrect, but we're at 380 for delinquent. I think part of that has to do with the COVID situation, because we're noticing people who were delinquent in like January and, or not January, I'm sorry, March and April, are starting to come back now and pay. With the COVID situation, we have waived the late fee for the people in that time period. We did have some people that were late, like at the end of last year or before that, coming back, and they're like, oh, you're waiving late fees. It's like, it's not that simple. It's for the people during that time period. We're not just waiving late fees as a blanket statement. We can't do that financially. We can't afford to do that. But during that time period, being understanding, definitely. We're also working with payment plans for people during this time period who don't want to lose a certification. So you can see the breakdowns there. This is how many people just in 57 people total delinquent just in 2020. We have 2 people on a payment plan right now. We've had some more, but they've completed their payment plan. 1,295 people expired total. And then it breaks down the type of expired people. So that's the people over expired in 2020. We have 303 people that have resigned. I'm sorry, that's the people that are broken down. So why have they resigned? 41 of those people because of business business. They're no longer in the business. They've changed the type of business they're doing. 207 people because they've moved out of the state, moved out of the area, and 55 of people have resigned because of request. They've requested to resign. We have 1,543 people that have retired. We have 77 people on the emeritus status, and we have 69 people that we know of that are deceased. So that's how we get our numbers. And you can see that the 380 people that are delinquent, we don't categorize them in expired or in the active category because they're fluid. They may come back and pay, or they may go expired. So we kind of keep them separate from that number. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I had an observation of curiosity. Why is it 69 people are deceased for three consecutive times? Is that
because we haven't gotten any reports that anybody else has been deceased?
Correct, or is that just a carry over?
It's because we don't know that. I mean, someone may have passed away, but we don't know unless we're told. So if we send out invoicing and we get something back letting us know, or if somebody sends us information that somebody has been deceased, then that number changes. So we can't change that number unless we get notification that somebody has passed away. So yes,
Carol, you were curious, is that a new number each quarter?
Oh, no. That's total. No, it's not new each quarter. It's total number deceased.
So the emeritus above were people that dropped out, where deceased obviously doesn't change.
Right. Yeah, no, we don't want it to. We don't want that number to change. We're good with that number being that number. We're not promoting that. We're not going to market it. No, we're good with that number being just the number it is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so next is the Idex report. We just received, literally just received the Idex report or Idex results for this time. I didn't have time to get them on here because we just received them, but you can see the numbers for May. We received 25 applications since, and this was as of the end of April, so it kind of changed a little bit, but applications, or no, Carly, it may have been later, but approved and certified 6 for the year, approved pending payment. Path 2, there's 16 people that were waiting for them to pay. So they have gone through compliance and they're waiting to pay. There's 48 people that are in Path 1 that we're waiting for them to finish their things so we can send them on to compliance. And then there's 209 people total pending the examination, and that's the people that are we're waiting for additional documentation, either fails, waiting to reschedule, no shows, different reasons that we have that 109 documentations, or pending yet ready to schedule. So they've completed their work, they just haven't scheduled their exam yet. And then 41 people pending scheduled for the Idex exam. We did have several people that were scheduled for the Idex exam that did transfer because of the COVID-19 situation. It was too stressful to take the exam. I believe that of the 34, Carly?
I think about 4 of them pushed to the next window.
They did.
And it was because either they didn't have testing centers to access, or they didn't have the live online proctoring has a lot of requirements computer wise, and they didn't necessarily have access to computer with those requirements. So
yeah.
I have a question. Can you just explain what does pending additional documentation mean? What is the documentation that is pending?
Well, a lot of people will go online and they will fill out part of the application, or we've had people pay and not fill out any documentation. So we're waiting for them, and we've sent them notice like, listen, you've done this, we need these things, and we can't proceed further until you complete the application process. And until they complete the application process, they can't take the Idex exam. So that's what it means.
Awesome. Thank you.
So they've turned in their application, but we haven't received their transcripts yet, or we've received their part of their application and the payment, but we haven't received their ID or whatever. We're missing part of the documentation for the application.
Perfect. Thanks.
Anything else? A lot of people did do the online part. I think out of the 30, there was 23, correct, Carly? 23 or
yes, I believe so.
23 did the live online proctoring. I know that there was one person that had a negative experience with it, and that has been passed on to Scantron, and Scantron is handling it. The person that she was dealing with, the proctors she was dealing with, was not very pleasant. What made her feel very underappreciated. It was not a good situation. So immediately we brought this to the attention of Scantron and escalated it quickly. And when Scantron brought back their resolution to it, we didn't feel it was sufficient. So we asked them to please re-look at it and get in contact with the candidate. And they had their vice president contact her. And so hopefully that will be a better solution to what they originally did. We just want it to be a positive experience for everyone, because it's something that we would like to offer in the future, but we want to make sure that it is something that's going to be a positive experience with the Idex exam. So I know that like ICC uses live online proctoring, and there are other testing tests that use it. So it makes it much easier for people to not have to leave to go to a testing center. So hopefully we can use it, but if it's not the best possibility, then we'll have to look at other opportunities. Anything else?
Okay. So we'll move on to marketing
Okay.
and outreach. Rose, you want to take that?
Sure. So on the social media report, we have been using Life Marketing for the last almost 3 years now, and we get the reports back, and we get a lot of social media followers, and we get a lot of likes and that sort of thing. And recently, we weren't hacked. It wasn't about hacking, but I noticed that we were getting a lot of kind of crazy thanks for following us, that sort of thing. I did go in and change the password into Instagram just in case, but I noticed that like the quality of the people that we were getting followed by, that sort of thing, and who the engagement that we were getting, the kind of people that we were that sort of thing wasn't really the demographic that we're kind of trying to reach out to. And so I brought that up to our people at Life Marketing, and the kind of content that they've been putting out recently is kind of regurgitating old content, and that's not what we're about. So I'm wondering if it's the time for us to change, them to change, something.
I have a question for you, Rose. Are we boosting our posts to?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely. Well, there's separate content. There's the content that you see on our social media pages, and then there's separate content that gets that are sent out as like ads. So there's 2 different content that goes out.
Who's going to be our target?
Who's our target? So our target demographic is.
When we boost it, we need to send it to the targets.
Right. It's supposed. There's a separate thing that they have that's between these ages, and it's supposed to be California, and it's supposed to be that the whole interior design community. I mean, there is that. It is sent to that. I know on Facebook I've seen it. I haven't really seen it, but it's strangely the people that come in, it's not those people, and it's like we get a lot of people that are not in that demographic, and I'm wondering how that's happening. I'm wondering why that's happening. If it's not in that demographic, how is it getting out to the people that aren't I don't care if people from not our demographic do, but if that's predominantly who it is, somehow that it's just strange that.
Yeah, unfortunately, this thing happens when we boost even in other social medias. We target people, but usually we get maybe 50% respond. But I think we need to just narrow down to the interests that we need to have. And if we get 50% or 40% of those targeted people, then hopefully.
I don't think that's even what we're getting. I don't think we're even getting 50% of those targeted people. I think we're getting like young kids, and we're getting people, and the comments that we get are like, stay off my page, and it's like, sorry, so, but it's not just about that. It's also about the content that's going out there, just kind of regurgitating, and I've asked them to change. I've given them new material. I've given them different things, and it's kind of getting to the point where it's like, I think that they had a couple times now, they've had the original people that were there that were bright and young and really had a great eye for things are all gone. And now they're kind of outsourcing to different areas, and the young team is gone. And I don't even know who the people are that are there now. So I really feel like this is a time to look at other options and find somebody.
Yeah, and it would be a really good time to sort of audit all of our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram. If we are tweeting, look at our Twitter.
We're not
and
Twitter.
just make sure and then just make sure that our messaging is consistent with. I know that we're going to talk about sort of putting together a marketing plan, but just sort of make sure that the messaging is consistent. I mean,
yeah.
Boosting posts is great as long as it's done correctly with the messaging and the type of hashtags, that kind of thing. I mean, but even getting a 10% response is huge when you boost posts. So
I have one more comments. One way is just messaging that is really good, that who we are. The other way is something that interest people and they can be involved. It's going to be fun. Okay, what's the next project, what they are offering, something that they enjoy looking. Because when I see, for example, 2-3 months just a message of CCIDC doing this or doing that, that okay, after maybe 2 months I'm just unfollow, because it's not when I just wake up and see and have fun with, oh, okay, that's a really good project, that's a really good interior, something that gets them involved. Or it, because when I see something really cool or interesting, I just forward to 2 or 3 of my friends. Oh, look at this design, look at this ideas. But just the messaging of who we are, nobody wants to just forward it as far as being fun.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is the message that we've given them all sorts of different things, and a lot of that is just getting, so definitely, and that goes to the marketing committee sort of thing that we'll be talking about shortly.
Yep.
3. So next, I have on here CCIDC. We did a presentation at UCL for the UCLA students. That was on April 29th. Carly and I did that together. Carly, do you want to get on with me here? You're muted. I can't hear you.
Rose, can you scroll down so that people can follow?
I don't think that it's not on there.
Oh, okay.
That's why this is just for, it's different for the.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Anyhow, Carly and I did a Zoom webinar presentation together for the students. Carly was there to answer questions for like the specifics for the IDEX exam. And then we shared on the screen, we shared not only our website, but the actual presentation, kind of like we're doing now, but it was a little bit better. Students had questions. We had 18 students, which was awesome. And
Great.
it was about a 1-hour presentation with question and then questions and answered. So we definitely went over the 1 hour, but it was good. And then we gave them a $100 application, IDEX application coupon code at the end. We sent that to them by email, but they were very engaged. They had lots of questions. I think the first 10 minutes of questions revolved around what do you mean we can't use interior architecture as our name, or in our name when we graduate? That was a big one. That was something that really bothered them. So, but it was good. It was a good presentation. And so we had originally been scheduled to go speak at the school, but with the COVID-19 and the school's closure, we couldn't go do that. So the students reached out to us and asked us if we would do a Zoom webinar, and we did. So it was good.
Yes, and I believe I have about 3 to 5 people already starting their applications from that presentation. So that's a good turnout. And then we have some questions regarding that. Karen said, I went to UCLA and had many students not even know about the IDEX. Not even the instructors were aware of the IDEX or anything about it. And also interior architecture was brought up many times.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen, for that. I think that, you know, the instructors are pretty aware of us, but we've had a really hard time getting in to speak there. There had been some barriers, but yeah, it's not something that they have chosen to speak about, but we're so glad that we have an opportunity now, and we will be back and we'll do this as many times as they will allow us to do.
And then Deanie said regarding UCLA extension, is CCIDC getting their ASID student chapter involved?
I think these students were students, some of them were students, members of that chapter. So I think that they reached out to us, and I think that was part of them. So yes, answer your question is yes, Deanie.
Those are all the questions for now.
Okay. Marketing committee update. So George, are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
We had
so we, you know, the idea is that we want to put together a marketing committee, to reevaluate our messaging, make sure our messaging is current and is providing value and is a compelling call to action. So we are definitely looking for marketing committee members. It does not have to just be people on this board, but it seems like Huton is very passionate about marketing. So I'm hoping that he will want to be a part of our committee.
Of course.
And if there's any of the participants, especially if you have marketing experience, would love to set up a call, set up a meeting, a Zoom, and maybe see how we can get you to participate. But really, the idea is to sort of, well, what I sort of see is to sort of take this rest of this year to really put together a really strong marketing plan, just so we can get the word out about CCIDC and what it is that we provide, and also continue to provide value to those CIDs currently.
Correct.
Great.
That's perfect.
Good.
So George, you just want everybody to reach out to you directly?
I mean, people can reach out to me directly. I think we were going to do like a poll.
Yeah, there's a poll going out that you can respond to. We have a couple of different opportunities. So on that poll, if you'll see it going out, if you click on it that you're interested in one of the different committees, there you go. If you guys can see that, it's going on right now. There's some different committees. Anybody that's interested in that will get your information. So there's a couple people. So yeah, just click that you're interested in the marketing committee, and we'll get your information, and then we'll give that to George, and he will be in contact with you. I think it'll be easier that way.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. So next, one of the other things that we've talked about is providing webinars, which we have done somewhat in the past and then kind of gotten away from. But this is just another way to kind of market ourselves and get out there. And I know that with this COVID crisis, some of you have gone through the PPP process, or maybe you're looking into the PPP process, the Personalized Paycheck Protection Program. The person that helped us through it, his name is Ken, and he's with Paychex. I'm not going to butcher his last name. I'll allow Taylor to do that. Taylor, are you there? Can you butcher his last name for me, please?
Kariorgis.
Kariorgis. He's amazing, and he's offered to do a free webinar through Zoom for anybody who just has questions about how to get through the process, what to do when you get get that. And I think, Christiana, you might even be able to help us with something as well. So anybody who's looking into that, has questions, wants to know it, if you're interested in that kind of webinar, let us know and we will set that up. And he's totally willing to do that for you guys. But we would like to also put together a CEU committee to give things like that, to provide quality CEUs that are out there for our CIDs, because we have people come to us all the time, and now that we have platforms like Zoom and we can make it easier than having to find a location and having to get things like that, we can look into doing something like that. And I know Carol Lampkins was interested in working on that committee as well. Next we wanted to show something else that we've been doing with our marketing this year. We put together sponsorships for different programs that we're doing. We sponsored the ICC Los Angeles, their annual business meeting. We are a platinum sponsor. ICC San Diego, we are a platinum sponsor. We looked for some in the north, looked to sponsor up in Northern California, and they didn't do the same kind of platform. So we weren't able to do that, but we wanted to try and get our name and our face out front. We also sponsored Calbo. Their event hasn't happened yet. Their annual business meeting was moved from April to July, and now it's being moved till October. So these are just some, I'll show you here. This is the Calbo conference. This is their registration page. So everybody that registers for the Calbo conference, which there's hundreds of people that do, this is what they see. It's on a much larger scale. I had to scale it down, but this is our California Council. This is our information, what our logo and stuff is. So everybody that goes through that, all the building officials that go through that, see this information. They see us, they see our logo, they see our information, every single person, and they see what we are. We're, our title act, this is designer title act. So this is how our sponsorship is being there. We're in front of everybody's eyes, all of the building officials that register for the conference or the annual business meeting. We're right there in front of them. So that's one of them.
Minimize polling 3 board committees so they can see what you're talking about.
Pardon?
You need to minimize polling 3 board committees. Just minimize so they can see the.
Oh, can you guys
talking about?
Can you guys see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Is it not hiding behind it?
I think you have to minimize your polling.
Yeah, the polling.
I think you have to minimize yours.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Mine's minimized.
You were driving it. Okay, that's absolutely right.
Nope, not me.
Everybody can see it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a nice ad. It's nice the way it's been designed.
Next, this one is, you can see this, there's Hutan. This was at the Los Angeles annual business meeting. You can see they had when you walked up, they had a screen that you take pictures in front of, and look, there's our logo. They were giving out awards. Our logo was up on the big screen. There we are. Oh, there's Hutan again, you guys can see. But just, there were hundreds of people there. These are all building officials in Los Angeles County, all seeing our name up there. We were having, our information was there. Again, there we are, different people.
Yeah, it was a great event.
This didn't show up really
great.
It was a really great event, well put together, and we were able to talk to a lot of building officials, Lieutenant and I.
Yeah, San Diego didn't post theirs as much afterwards, but for the next year, every time documents go out from the San Diego chapter, we're platinum sponsors. We're right there at the top. Again, it's something at the actual event, we had all of our information was out in front. They just didn't post pictures of it, but there we are at the top. So anytime something like this goes out from the San Diego chapter, we're right there at the top. Building officials are seeing that. We're being seen. So I thought that our money this year was better spent being out there in front. Our board talked about it. We talked about it. It was agreed that being seen, and then so they would see that, they would know it, they would understand it. When we go to talk to them, we have a conversation and we say we're from CCIDC. They're like, oh yeah, I've seen that. That starts the conversation. So any questions? Ed, I think that maybe we should open it up for question and answer for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we only have one question, right?
Well,
Yeah.
there might be more if we stop for.
Yeah.
We have one question so far, and it's from Robert. He said, is there any way that CCIDC can also be included with IDCEC so that CIDs don't need to self-submit our CEUs?
Good question,
That's a
Robert.
very good question.
We would love that. We would really like to do that. We have tried for years. It's not something that we shy away from. This is a question that's been asked again and again. IDCEC is their own company, their own entity. What we are doing on our own end is we are trying to find a new platform for our website that would make uploading those easier, because that process would be easier than being able to have that as a possibility with IDCEC. We're open to that. We would love to be able to partner with them to have that happen, but it is not a viable option. There.
That's the only question for right now.
I see another one. It's two.
They're both from Robert, just
Oh.
acknowledging the answer.
Okay.
So is the reason why we cannot partner with IDCEC, is it a financial reason, or that they do not want to partner with us?
Yes, IDCEC is originated through ASID.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, let me scroll down on this sheet. It will help me get to. Correspondence, really just.
We have one item on the correspondence.
Technically, yeah.
One, right? I think that's all I saw.
You wanna? I think I added a. No. Like other than I added in, Calbo is moving their. They're moving their thing to October now. It's still going to be in Carlsbad. That's a time when I'm not going to be available. I did speak with David Wagner and ask if he would come and work the booth, because he's done it a million times and he knows all the people down there. And he could be the person that would be there all the time, because if I'm not going to be in the office, Carly will need to be at the office. And Ed, if you could come maybe one day, or some of the people down in.
Do you know the dates?
October 4th through the 7th.
4th through the 7th, okay.
Yeah. David Wagner's, he's willing to step up and do that. And then if you guys want to come for anybody in the area want to come one day, he's willing to work and be the man there the whole time, and then you guys come in. So if that's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I've got that covered.
Okay.
Hang on. So Ed, if you want to go over this one, the item that the correspondence, that's on you.
Yeah, we got an email from Janice, putting up kind of a element that IIDA has put out there on their websites. It's a little confusing to the industry, but it's her acknowledgement about what's being put out there as a marketing through IIDA, and yeah, it's interesting.
And she is an IIDA member, and she sent that.
She's an IIDA member too.
Sent that to us.
That's very well noted, Rose. But it's really kind of outlining the differences between what we are as a board and a title act versus what I believe IIDA is trying to achieve in the state of California. And I think the concern from Janice is that we should be working together and not separate to strengthen the current law in California.
I think that the concern for all of the design professionals or all the interior design profession is that we should be working together, and that's kind of what we had been trying to achieve. And that's, you know, I think that's what our point is that we've been trying to work together. Correct? Am I correct, board members?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, this graphic was something that Janice pulled from a webinar that she attended from IIDA. This graphic does not live on the IIDA website. So just to be clear. And this is just something that, you know, ongoing, we've been doing our best to work with IIDA. My experience is I think the confusion possibly is that what IIDA wants to achieve is not the role of CCIDC. And, you know, because we are a title act and we have to follow rules or regulations from the state of California, we can't just change what it is that we are doing. Right. Is that correct, Rose?
Correct.
Yeah.
In addition, we should be working with what we have. We should be working to strengthen that. Absolutely. And unfortunately, it is the thought process that we should be using one test and one test only, and that test isn't the Idex California. And so when there is no flexibility and when there is no understanding of this, then that's where the dissension comes. That's where the you know, that's where the problem lies. And so,
well, and the reality is the NCIDQ is a great test.
Oh yes,
unfortunately,
for sure. Yes.
The NCIDQ is not willing to modify or add an addendum to their test that deals strictly with California codes. And because of our Title Act, we're not able to recognize that.
Right. And before the Idex was, you know, when we were asked to go to one exam, before the Idex was created, the first thing we did was go to the NCIDQ and ask them if they would make a California specific exam, and they said no. So that was before the Idex exam happened. That's a non-issue. We've talked about this. That's a non-issue. We've gone past this. We've proven to the state in our sunset reviews why we can't use the NCIDQ. It's just a non-issue. It's a non-starter. How can we work past that? How can we work beyond that? There's other issues created that we found out through our stakeholder meetings. There's other items that we need to be discussing that if we work together on other issues that would prove things to the building officials that we can talk about. Like, there's so many things that we can work together on, but these things that have already been proved to be non-issues, you know, it's like, we need licensing. No, we don't need licensing. We need to strengthen what we have and prove the things that they've said need to be proved. That, because even with the license, it doesn't mean that they're going to accept your plans. That's the issue. You know, it's just, we need to get past the words that are confusing and not working towards the goal of unity. It's just nonsense, especially in times like this, you know.
I have some feedback from Deanie. She said, I agree with Janice. CCIDC needs to find a way to work with ASID and IIDA. This has been going on too long and doesn't help the California interior design profession. And she also says, what are the other things that ASID and IIDA can work with CCIDC on?
What do you, I'm not understanding. we've been having stakeholder meetings. We've been, George and Ed, you can agree. There's education was a big thing that was spoken about at the meetings, and that the architects, not even the building officials, but the architects felt that the lack of certain education for designers was called into play. And there were courses that they felt, because the designers don't have those courses in their, because they're lacking those courses, that they are not qualified to do the work that they're already doing. And that's something that we'll be talking about shortly here in the meeting. That's something that we need to be educating designers on. It's like, this is what they're looking for. If this is the education that you have, then we have a much bigger standpoint. Not the, what exam did you take? Because they didn't care as much about the exam portion of it. It was the education. Working towards those things, educating the students out there. These are the courses that you need to work with. Educating the schools. You need to provide these courses, or if you're not going to provide these courses, you know, the schools are taking away from the students what courses are offered in an interior design program. They're offering things like photography, and they're taking away the substance of those programs because they want them, especially in the community college programs, because they want them to transfer. You know, students need to be aware that's hurting you. You need to be able to have these other courses. Us working on educating and using platforms like ASID and IIDA to help do that. Those are the things we can work together on. Those are the things that we can educate people on by far. And then if students have those, and then that's not something that the architects can complain about, because they do have what they need in the education portion of it. Right, Ed, George, is that, you guys are muted somehow.
I'm not. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can.
This is George. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Agreed.
Yeah, that was a huge issue for them. So I think that that's where we need to focus our efforts on, is making sure the students know what they're looking for in that. That's something we can work together on, rather than test name calling, pointing fingers, and dissension.
We also have another question from William Weeman. What are we doing to work with IID? What are you doing to work with IIDA and ASID?
Well, we've had the stakeholder meetings. Unfortunately, the last couple of months we haven't been able to because of the situation. It's, you know, Ed, George, I'll let you take this question.
Sure. I mean, as a representative of IIDA, I think this is a start to have, you know, a voice on this board, not only IIDA but also ASID with George. You know, we take messages back and forth between our organization and this board to try to keep kind of some unity and some progress going to what we have here. Now, obviously, CCIDC and IIDA and also ASID have not always seen kind of the same future going forward, but I think there are ways that we can work together to advance what we're trying to do, is in elevating our profession, and elevating it in a way where we're a respected element of design in our community of design.
George?
Agreed. Yeah, and you know, I would just add, you know, this has been a process that I know CCIDC has been working on from the very beginning, and unfortunately, I would say feathers have been ruffled on ASID's side, and you know, our focus is always our CIDs. So regardless of what professional affiliation that they may have, and hopefully in the near future, we could go back to these professional organizations and meet with them again. This is something that I have had on my list of what to do, is to reach out to ASID National to get their new take on what's going on in their minds in regards to California and CIDs and CCIDC. And so that is something that I still need to do. Yet I would say our focus needs to be on the designers, first,
Right.
and then the professional organizations, meaning ASID, IIDA, that kind of thing, second.
Right. And we do represent a larger component. The professional organizations are a component of the design profession that we represent.
Absolutely.
We represent designers in the state. We have designers, that don't belong to any affiliation. We have designers that, so we are, designers that have their education through a community college, education through experience only, no education, it's school education. So we have to be concerned with a larger group of people than just one design organization, where we feel the design organizations are concerned with the designers that are just member affiliates, that sort of thing. So we really want to be concerned with a larger focus. We are happy to work with them, but we need to keep our focus on the entire design community in California.
I have two
Agreed.
other questions that go back to the CEUs, if we want to discuss those now. The first one is from Lila. She says, when I take an online course, the sponsor typically offers credit certification for 2 different organizations, which promotes their credibility. Is it plausible for sponsors to offer a certificate for CCIDC credit?
Yes, and we have spoken with different organizations, and most of them do offer credit. We accept credit from most all of the different organizations. They just don't automatically upload them into our platform.
Right.
So like AEC Daily, and I believe Red Vector, and there's another one, you should be able to, I can't explain the whole process here, but you can get the CCIDC credit information there. So definitely we do accept all of those, and we've spoken with them to get CID as a version of what they have there. So if you call into the, if you email Carly, we can get you that information on how to do that. You can't really call in at the moment, but it is just, we've done that. So yes. And what's the second?
The second one is from Adriana. She said, I think you said you would be working on this, but does CCIDC currently have a menu of sorts for the types of classes that they deem appropriate?
I believe it's on there. It's I'll have to look it up. Carly, if you could look it up on there.
Yes, so we have basically a menu of resources for the CEUs that we accept, but it's not limited to just what's on our website. These are more so just suggestions rather than what's accepted versus what's not. Basically what deems it acceptable is the content of the CEU. So as long as it's applicable and from, an organization, we are going to be able to accept that. So we do have that resource page on our website if you need ideas for CEUs.
Correct.
And then William also followed up with, do you have statistics on the breakdown of CIDs by organization and independent designers?
We do have some statistics on that. We can provide that for you. But unfortunately, not all people report all of the when they apply, they don't report all of the organizations that they belong to. So it may not be 100% accurate, but we can run a report telling you what we know and who it is.
And that's all the questions we have for now.
Anyhow, okay.
Okay, sorry, I have one more. Adriana followed up and said she meant appropriate classes for interior design programs. So like a list of ones that are gonna benefit their application process is what I'm taking from that.
Oh, still working on that, and that's something we kind of also have here. I think we'll talk about that more. Next, this is you. Ed?
Oh, sorry. I got lost in the 2 pages. Yeah, the notice of the strategic planning meeting. Hang on a second.
Just wanted to discuss what we.
Yeah. So we had a strategic planning meeting on the 16th of May, where we kind of went over several things, but one of them, we introduced a new member to the board, Patricia Johnson, and we lost Cherry Lemons, but replacing with a very qualified board member.
After 6 years, Cherry was.
Yeah. So it was sad to see Cherry leave, but we're excited to have Patricia on board now, and I think she's going to bring a lot of value to the board with her experience in codes. And in fact, Patricia, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit.
Well,
kind of
what I want to say at this time is that I'm really, really committed to helping CCIDC in their, I guess, battle with anyone or any agency that wants to imply that interior designers are not qualified to submit drawings, you know, to various jurisdictions. And I want to help us come up with written justifications for, you know, the qualifications as to why CIDs should be allowed to do that. From my background and perspective, I've reviewed an awful lot of drawings that have architectural stamps on them and engineering stamps on them that are all, you know, very professional and is a requirement by the state. But they lacked. I mean, just because you have that certification or that number, you know, or that license or whatever through the state of California does not automatically determine your ability to follow code requirements when submitting drawings, no matter if it's a simple, you're knocking down one wall versus you're building a brand new structure. So that's my heart. That's what I really want to do for you guys, if it's at all possible. And so in the coming months, you will see me putting together an argument, you could say, based on code statutes that should support us. And I'm really hoping that that can happen.
That's wonderful. And you were, at one time, you were a fire marshal or deputy fire marshal or both?
I've been a fire marshal. I was a fire marshal at UC Davis. So for many, many, many years. But previous to that, I was an assistant fire marshal in different places. So it's just more so a matter of having 23 years of being in codes. Yes. And working with various jurisdictions and building officials and just understanding the process and being hands-on and seeing the work that is submitted by people on a, you know, 23 years of seeing drawings. Yeah. So I'm thinking that the argument, from my perspective at this point, architects, whoever's telling the interior designers that they are not qualified or somehow don't meet requirements, to me is a complete crock. So I want to be able to share that with you guys so that you can see from my perspective, you know, why I'm in support of you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, we're glad you're on your board and we look forward to getting through this process together. And I think that you're a wonderful addition, Ed.
That's great. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Good. So that was, Ed, you can go back to.
Did I answer your question, Ed?
Yeah.
Or you want
yes. No, yes, absolutely. A couple other topics that we discussed was COVID-19 and kind of the impact that that's having on our organization CCIDC when it comes to kind of the financial planning of the future. So we went over some of that. We went over the PPP loan, which we applied for and received.
We had applied for it before then, but it wasn't. It wasn't getting anywhere. But literally right after that, was great.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that we discussed the Idis exam revisions. I know that that's always been something that we wanted to take on, and so we were kind of trying to balance, the financial responsibility that we have during COVID-19, and then executing that exam revision updates. And so we decided as a group that we feel it's important to proceed with that and not stall that, so that our exam gets a revamp and in the near future.
Yeah, it's going on. It's happening. It's yeah.
And then the sunset review. So we just talked about the sunset review being pushed out and what kind of implication that has, slightly. But it really hasn't changed much. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, and then just marketing, which we talked about earlier with George, trying to set up a committee and revamp that committee to really focus on our marketing efforts and taking that kind of a step forward. And that's pretty much it. There was some future planning stuff like legislation, professional organizations, and student presentations that we talked about earlier here in this meeting.
That's when we discussed what we were talking about with the student preparation is
Correct,
definitely
yeah.
we need to prepare the students for those courses that are really imperative too.
Yeah. And that was pretty much it for that meeting, the strategic planning meeting that we had.
Okay.
I have some feedback and questions before we go on to tab 7. A lot of great feedback about Patricia being on our board. Everybody's very happy and excited for you to be on here. David Wagner said, when Patricia was introduced, I didn't understand who she represents. Is she a public member not involved in the interior design industry? If we want to go over that one more time.
Yeah, she is a public member. She's not in interior design. She's in codes and fire marshal, so that's not interior design.
We have Janice Snyder said, thank you all of you for continuing the work started in the mid-'80s. Luke Kwan said, if education program improvement is what the board is looking at to gain support from AIA, CCIDC should probably work with CIDA. However, CIDA only accredits bachelor's and master's degrees. Regarding AIA, did they provide a formal statement that if interior design education meets a certain standard, they will be in support of the licensing certification? Without an official statement, it will be a moving target.
No, they did not. And it's not necessarily AIA that we need to garner the support of. It's the building officials, and that's who we're looking to garner the support of. And AIA is a professional organization. They're not, they're
not a licensing body.
They're not a licensing body. So we need to have teeth to our program. We need to have the support of the architects, as in the California Architects Board. We need to have the support of CalBO, the building officials, and we also have ICC with us as well. If we have support and we build and we work on our program and get it through, strengthening our bill, but we also have it backed up by the education and those things. The argument that AIA has, it doesn't have teeth. And that's the point, is they're saying, well, you don't have these things, but we do have them. Then their argument doesn't have teeth. That's the point.
Okay, we have a question from William. He says, do you have any updates on the sunset review schedule amid the COVID environment?
Yeah, and we're
going to get to that.
yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute. We do.
Yep.
So in old business, our next annual board meeting will be June 5th of 2021, and we will be doing this, the new format that we wanted to do this year and we're unable to do because of the COVID-19 situation. So it will still be in Sacramento. We're still hoping to get it at the American River College like we had planned for this year, and the format that with everything with the Compassion and Design program, all of that is just being moved 1 year out. So the CEUs, the awards dinner, all of those things will be just moved 1 year out. Same thing, we're just moving into that. So we'll start marketing all of those things again for next year. We're going to work on getting the same people that we had hoped to for the CU, that sort of stuff for then. We'll be having IDEX presentations. We'll be having we'll have a stakeholder meeting. We would like to have another stakeholder meeting, or not, I'm sorry, not stakeholder, strategic planning meeting. We will have stakeholder, but strategic planning meeting. We'd like to be doing that again a little bit more regularly, just to keep up, especially with the new committees. So, but all of that will be happening next year, so look for it. September and January meetings will be held via Zoom, but the June meeting next year, we really want to market getting out there and having as many people from the design community as we can. For the Sunset Review Committee, I had emailed Robbie and Elisa, who are legislative reps up in Sacramento, and asked them if there was any kind of update. I know that they had postponed all of the hearings from this year until next year, and Robbie responded and told us that the two houses are still working together and working out the logistics for Sunset Review, but they expect that we will still receive our questionnaire later this summer, and that we will still have our Sunset Review as planned next year. He said that that some entities will be pushed out, but he doesn't think that ours will be pushed out. So we will still be doing our Sunset Review as planned.
Awesome.
So we
That's
will
amazing.
still need to do another couple stakeholder meetings, but Patricia, we are definitely going to have you involved in those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your report will be great to have hopefully before then, and have you there will be wonderful thing. So that was Sunset Review information.
I am going to release a poll real quick.
Sure.
And I changed out my microphone earphone, so hopefully you can hear me better.
Great. And we also have some requests for Ed to speak a little bit louder because it's hard for everybody to hear.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, and then we did have a meeting yesterday regarding the updating of the IDEX exam and how that new we originally wanted to release it for this October, so it will not be released this October as far as the whole revamp is concerned, but that will be for May of 2021, the revamp is, and so we worked out the scheduling for everything with that we had already announced earlier, but because of the COVID situation, but we had ICC and Scantron working together to get their schedules and their psychometricians working together to get all of their processes together, for lack of a better explanation. So they now are on the same page so that ICC can get their subject matter experts together to get things done on the same time frame as the Scantron people, so that we'll have that. It'll be seamless and everything will come together at the same time to be done in time for the May exam. And we'll be moving forward as planned, and we won't be pausing anything that we thought we might need to when this first happened. Any questions about that?
We do have some questions.
Okay.
From Rainey, we have, is there an outreach committee focused on educating Calbo? If so, I would consider joining.
There's not a committee, but we have in San Diego, I attend the ICC meetings in San Diego. We have George attending for the Northern California. Ed and Hutan do Los Angeles, and then Hutan, we have him signed up for, and Carol are signed up for Orange County. So we kind of cover the ICC meetings throughout the state. And we have a really good relationship with Calbo. The people at the actual Calbo office email me, contact me regularly. So we do have outreach. And like I said, we always encourage CIDs on the regular. Please join your local ICC chapter. Get to know your local building officials. Be involved. We have down in San Diego, we have a CID that attends regularly with the meetings. She's learned a lot, and she said so, that she's learned a lot from attending those meetings. She asks questions regularly. She's involved. So I can't, if you want to have a voice with Calbo, attend your local ICC chapter meetings. It's like $75 a year, I believe. It's well worth it. And that's how we will get recognized by Calbo. That's how you'll get recognized by your building officials, is to join your local ICC chapter and attend their monthly meetings. They're different. Usually it's like, for San Diego, it's the third Tuesday of the month. For Los Angeles, it's the third Thursday, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Second Thursday, third Tuesday. I'm thinking I'm mixed up. So join them. We have a voice with Calbo. They hear us. They know us. They, you know, when we were doing promotions, they were like, here, we're going to throw this extra thing in for you. You got to, you know, they know us. We're out there. So we don't have, like I said, we don't have a special committee per se, but we're covering all of our bases with them, and we're talking with them regularly. Shane Diller was in part of our stakeholder meetings. He joins, he attends, he knows us. The vice president, he's the current president for Calbo. Shane and I've asked him next year, when he was going to do it this year, but when we have judging for the Compassion Project, he was going to be one of the judges. So we have a voice with them. They know us. We stay connected with them. So yeah.
And it truly is the best way to get in front of building officials.
Yes.
In a kind of a relaxed environment where it's not essentially a business transaction, but you're actually.
It's a networking experience.
A networking experience. So it's really great to know them personally, versus just that person that's on the other side of the counter.
Right. Yeah. So does that answer your?
Sorry. Brainy also said LADBS continues to be a real problem. Their acceptance of CID drawings without an architect stamp has gotten worse.
Right, and they've put out some paperwork onto reasons why they're doing that, and we're making some appointments when this COVID situation is over. We would like to have some actual appointments, but until then, we're going to settle for some Zoom ones. I know that the building officials really well, and they listen to us, but it's the kind of head person there that we need to make headway with, and they've kind of given me information on how to make leeway or headway with that, and so that's something I'm working on. Hutan, you know, Ara, and he's very helpful, gives me information, and he's the head building official there. It's just kind of their it's just the way they do things and why they have reasons. And part of that goes to what, you know, AIA is saying. It's just like, you don't have the education, you don't have the this, you don't have the that. When we do, but we need to make some headway and we need to go in there forcefully, I think. But there's also some other outlets that we can discuss and take into consideration for things that we can do as a board.
Rainey says, may I suggest you have Patricia with you when interacting with LADBS?
For sure. Oh,
Yeah,
I'll take her everywhere. Yes, I will.
yeah, I'd like to be included on the correspondence if at all possible.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can definitely do that. Most definitely.
Tara says, I don't see a Calbo chapter for the San Francisco area.
It's East, it's called East Bay. There's two different ones. One's East Bay. It's not San Francisco per se, it's called East Bay. And then there's another one. I can get you the names of them. Carly, if you can look those up and then email those. I won't get you the name, Carly will, I'm sorry. My right-hand person. Okay, on to the next, I think.
New business.
New business. Trying to do two. That was just more information on the sunset reviews. Oh, there we are.
Do we have any new business?
Yeah, there was new business put in there, wasn't there? Hold on.
Oh yeah, the COVID-19.
While you're doing that, so there are two chapters. There's the Peninsula chapter and the East Bay chapter. There is no San Francisco proper. Chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Who was asking that question? I'm sorry.
Her name was Tara.
Tara.
Tara Baker.
Tara Baker.
Yes.
Awesome. So hopefully one of those will work, Tara, and I would be happy to talk to you and maybe we can divide and conquer too, which would be awesome.
Yeah. So with the COVID-19, you've all known that it's been interesting, and there was a poll that went out for you guys as well. We've had to, Carly and I mainly work from home, but we've been splitting the hours in the office to do work that we can't do here, and to check the phones, return, messages, that sort of thing. And until it's a no mask requirement, we're going to continue that because our office is so small and that it's not conducive for us to be able to be in the office at the same time with masks on and being able to do that kind of work. So Carly goes in on Mondays and Wednesdays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll go into the office. And then on Fridays, she and I have a Zoom because Fridays have always been a minimal day for us. She and I have a staff meeting via Zoom. But weekly, we adjust the situation. We assess the situation and adjust it accordingly. If we're needed in the office more because things have picked up drastically, we will adjust that. If the restrictions as far as the masks are concerned change, then we would definitely, go back in there. But for us, we've managed it this far. What we have noticed is the only people that have said anything as far as, we're not hearing from you. We had a gal that was like, I've asked you to contact me several times. We've contacted her several times. She was, our emails were in her spam filter. So that really was the only thing that has been something that, that sort of thing. We've have to ask people, please check your spam filter. We are responding. I'm responding to people at 10 o'clock at night. If I don't have something pressing, I'm still checking my emails. The office hours may be a certain time, but that doesn't mean we're not checking, especially if we know something, with Idex or something else is going on or somebody's having a real issue. We're still checking. It's not, that we're not here. We're here going on. The financial impact, our income has been at about approximately an average 65% of what our typical income is. We typically average about 22,000 per month. In April, it was 13,937. May was 14,562. It was a little higher than that because I did get it on the 31st. I didn't get that number on the 31st. I got it a little bit before that. So, like I said, we were averaging about 65% of what our actual income is. So, we received the PPP loan. What had happened was originally we applied for it in April through our old bank, and we hadn't. With that, it was easy to apply for, but you couldn't contact anyone. You couldn't email anyone. You only got emails. You only received emails, and they were vague. They didn't tell you if you missed something. They didn't tell you if your application was inappropriate. You didn't have the right documentation. So it was just kind of a guessing game and waiting game. We did receive one email from them where we had to log in through a secure thing and tell them, where do you want this money to go? How do you want this? And so we're like, good, okay, maybe we're going to get the money. We didn't get the money. It was just still more of the waiting thing. So when we had the strategic planning meeting, we were able to discuss it a little further, got some great ideas, and Ken from Paychecks, who happens to know Taylor, suggested he knew a bank that was still doing the PPP loan and to contact him. I contacted him on Monday, the Monday following our strategic planning meeting. The paperwork was submitted that day. We got the final signing papers on Thursday. We were approved on Friday. The money was in the bank on Saturday. I mean, it was just bam, 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 bam. So opposite of what our previous experience was. It was phenomenal. So that really helped immensely, just a relief to know that that extra thing's there. But it was also wonderful because we'd spent the last 3 years making sure that we built up that cushion after the sunset review last time, and they had commented that we never had a cushion. I made sure once I took over that we had a cushion. I've been very frugal, and so we did. We've had a cushion ever since. How we can and are assisting CIDs, I kind of touched on this earlier, but we cannot waive renewal fees per our rules and regulations in the Title Act. We have to charge renewal fees. If we don't, we do go out of business. But we are waiving the late fees for that time period accrued during the COVID period. We have payment plans available. There's no interest fees. We don't charge interest or anything for the payment plan, but the payments must be made in full before you receive your stamp, or you're out of the delinquent status if you were in that, or your stamper card. We cannot waive CEUs during this time period because of our Title Act regulations, but we can give you an extension for up to a month, and they must be completed, and you must not be in delinquent status to have your CEUs waived. That's just part of the rules and regulations. So those are some of the things that we're doing. The Ceu Committee, I know, Carol, that's something that you were interested in putting together. If you wanted to talk about that. Oh.
Basically, my vision at this point is looking at what isn't in a typical 2-year certificate program. What is it that interior designers need to know when they go out into the world after they get their certificate and become quasi-professional. They aren't a CID yet, although they can sit for the exam portion. Then they have to work on their experience. And, you know, one thing that has always haunted me is the statement from contractors and even architects, is that interior designers design what can't be built. And there's really no excuse for that. So we need some supplemental programs that the two-year programs do not have enough time to teach in their curriculum. We need some extra programs that will supply that kind of knowledge. So that's my thought to begin with. But at this point, I don't think we're officially started on this. At least I haven't had anyone else show interest. And I don't know if people outside of CIDs can be part of this committee. So that's a question for you.
No, I don't know that we would do that. We'd like to keep it within CIDs and board members. We have to talk about that. What our regulations are. I don't think that we can have people outside of that. But that's something, you know, in the poll, if you didn't answer, we could probably run that poll again, Carly, to see if people would be interested in the CEU committee.
And what would be nice if we could approach some of the instructors in the community college if they would be willing to participate, because they really have their, you know, their fingers on the pulse of what's happening in education. And we just connect it to real life. You know, there's basics you need as a foundation, and then the experience part kicks in when you get into the real world, and there's some things you aren't ready for.
Correct. All right. And then we would also be working on getting either the ICC preferred provider accreditation or another accreditation to be able to provide that for CEU credits for outside of just us as well. Education committee. That's another thing that we talked about at the strategic planning meeting. We do have an educator seat, board seat open. So anybody who is currently an educator, you have to be an active educator. You have to be working as an educator to fill that seat. Defining, and then this is where we were talking about at the stakeholder meetings, CCIDC and legislative staff, defining the curriculum necessary for certification in California, California building codes, CBC, Title 24 regulations. These are the courses that we were kind of talking about. CBC Chapter 11B, accessibility, California building code, CDC, structural systems, mean of egress. These are all things that they said that we didn't know about and that we didn't have the proper education for, and that because of the changing of the definition of the word seismic and the impact of that CIDs or designers in general didn't have the proper education and didn't have the proper knowledge. We asked if CEU training on that was enough, and they said it was not. So even though designers don't deal with structural and seismic in the work, in the scope of work that they do, they need to have a knowledge base of these things. And a lot of the courses or a lot of the schools aren't teaching codes, or that they're electives, and designers don't have to take those and don't come out of school with an education on those. Is that correct, George and Ed? Am I saying?
That's I would say that is correct. And you know, we're not telling colleges what classes that they need to teach. But this is, to me, this is something that is really paramount to what we need to be doing. Is we need to be putting together a guideline that we're sending out to these schools, to these teachers, and to the students of, if you want to be a designer in California and you want to do more than decorating, this is the type of education that you're going to need, whether it's in the program that you're currently in or whether it is continuing education that you're going to look for after you graduate. But my hope is that we could put together a package to assist these schools and assist these teachers in putting their programs together that are really going to benefit these students to actually have enough knowledge that when they graduate, that they are a viable resource for the job market too.
Well, and is this something, oh yes, Patricia, sorry.
Patricia.
I support what Carol and George are saying. I just want to offer to you that I think we should consider, and I'm willing to do it, that an evaluation be made of the most popular architectural programs in the state of California, let's say, so that architects in the state of California, wherever they're graduating from, that there's a review done of the coursework that they're required to have, and then we can set up the interior design requirements to somewhat mimic that. In other words, I don't think that we should stretch our educational requirements any further than the architectural ones.
No.
We could mimic it, but to sit here and say, just based on someone's telling us, because we're deficient in certain things, we need to have a comparison that says architectural students and graduates took the following courses. Because I will tell you, years ago when I first started being a plan reviewer, and I was always wondering why architects didn't get their exiting right. I was told that codes were not a part of the curriculum. It was an elective. Now, maybe things have changed, and that's why I'm suggesting that even for my own knowledge, I compare like what has changed. I know seismic has been added and things like that. So I'm just saying that I think before we jump off in setting up a program of who's got what and what they should take, we should compare so that we're not asking more of our people than the state is requiring of the architects.
It's funny you should say that, because I looked at UCLA and there were like two, Woodbury and then another one, and I couldn't find code specific courses. They do have, like, you look at like they have Studio One, or they have different things, and they're mentioned that those things are covered in those.
Right, but it's not specific. Yeah.
But it's not specific to
right.
that.
So that's why I'm suggesting, seismic, that's a big deal, okay? Typically engineers are required for seismic. And that's another argument. It's like interior designers should not be required to do structural when there are professionals out there that do that. So that, it's nice to have curriculums. And like Carol was saying, I mean, you could add infinitum additional electives, but again, it's the student's choice, but I think we should have, and we can offer curriculum guidelines to the colleges. But let's first establish, what's consistent in.
I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a lot of feedback from the attendees on this topic, if I can chime in.
Yes.
Laura Ridley had a couple comments. She teaches AutoCAD at Palomar College. She said Palomar Interior Design Department has decided to make the student designers education more drafters by eliminating history of design and materials. She said the state needs students to continue to upper division schools, and that is one of the reasons the community college is eliminating some classes. She said codes have been eliminated from the community college also. Karen also said there's only one codes class at UCLA, but the instructors expect you to have a codes background.
How does that happen?
How does that happen if there's only one course?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then she also chimed in and said Fullerton College has codes for interior designers.
Yeah, that's good.
So
yeah, the architects aren't required to take it, then why are we?
Yeah.
Do you see That's my point.
Absolutely.
But the education
Absolutely.
of the code is in progress because every 3 years a new code is coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
And
it doesn't change that drastically from every 3 years. There's
true.
minimal
I think
changes.
the designers, architects, constantly, they don't know the code too. Always they just.
And they have to know that with CEUs, and that was something we discussed. It needs to be CEUs, but they're like, but our education was, you know what I mean, was stronger. And so, but we're trying to get that on equal,
Right.
not equal footing, but you know what I mean, on level playing field.
Right.
Um,
And the sorry, Carly. And the reality is as long as you know how to do the research and to find the answer, that's what really matters. But that doesn't mean that we cannot develop our own series or our own CEU courses
Absolutely.
that deal strictly with codes too, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get this going. Carly, get the.
okay,
Yeah.
I can, yeah, I'll save these for later.
Are you sure? We need to answer questions, but we need to.
It's just input on community college, codes classes, stuff like that. The one question we could answer is from Rainey. He said, why would you not accept an expert on the CEU committee who is not a CID unless it has been changed since I was on the board? I do not remember any rule that would prevent that.
No, I just said we needed to check our thing. If we're allowed to, then we would definitely accept them. I just wanted to check the rules and regulations on that. If we can accept them, we will definitely accept them.
He also asked the seismic education request, did it come from AIA or Calbo?
AIA didn't come from Calbo.
Exactly.
Calbo is, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. They don't.
I'm not understanding Luke's question, sorry.
The programs typically have industry professional annual meeting to help bring their program up to date, and they usually consist of architects, engineering, interior designer. I'm assuming that maybe he's saying that's a good option for us to get involved in if we can.
Yeah,
Luke, want to
definitely.
specify if I'm
Is
wrong?
this
Go ahead.
regarding educational programs like universities?
And that would be a great thing
usually
for the
have
education committee to get together and work on and be a part of those
Yeah.
things. So, yes. Okay.
Looks like the education and the CEU committees are very closely related.
Yeah.
From what we were trying to do, I don't think that they are. I think the CEU committee was supposed to be for creating CEUs and the CEU curriculum to be able to provide for the CIDs, and the education curriculum has to do with providing the educational, the curriculums for the schools, and so it's two different things. All right. I think that we're
there.
We're done. Yeah. So if you want to.
We're done with open session.
Yeah.
Do we have a closed session?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So this is
it
for our.
Move to adjourn.
Can I move to adjourn the?
Oh,
open?
Sandra has a question. There's open.
I'm not seeing that question.
What? Sandra. Dave wants to say something. I have to let him talk though. Oh Lord. What time is it? You can talk. Dave, you can talk. Hang on just a second. I have to let you. I have to. Dave, you literally have 2 minutes and that's it. We have something to do. Hold on just a second. I have to go to, where are the people? Participants.
Should be on the right hand side.
I got it. I got it. Hold on just a second. Okay. Dave, are you there? You should be allowed to talk now.
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Hi, Rainey, George, Rose, everybody. Just a quickie regarding the Architects Board. Many years ago, I was at the Cowboat Conference up in Yosemite. That's how far back we're talking. And I sat on a log with Bob Carter, who's, I guess, no longer with the Architects Board. But one of the comments I made to him was, Bob, do you have any idea how much work I get architects? And he had no clue. In other words, they don't realize that a lot of us CIDs or interior designers, we actually give work to architects and we actually help them pay their rent. Once he understood that, and I even threw in a little, how do you want to say it? A little side thing. I said, Bob, would you rather I give it to structural engineers? Because they want the work. And it just blew his mind how much work we actually give to architects, because we do not do seismic and what have you, and structural. So maybe we ought to rekindle that is all I'm trying to say. Can't hurt. And that's enough out of me.
That's a great point.
Thank you. Perfect. I mean, that's the point.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it. Okay. We got.
I'm gonna do a motion to adjourn.
There's one
Is
more
there?
question.
Yeah, there's one. Hold on just one second. Disable talking. There's one of the Sandra has allowed. I'm going to let Sandra. I unmuted. There you go. Sandra, you had a question?
No, it wasn't a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I was saying that I was saying thank you for touching on all of these points.
Oh.
It has been a very interesting meeting. I know that in our field that basically what we do is a product of knowledge plus knowledge from education, collaboration with those we work with in the trades of engineering and architecture. And I agree that we do bring those other fields work and that we respect them. And I think that our field has worked to retain their respect.
Right.
And I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Sandra. Well, then we're going to go ahead and
Yeah, but
thank you for your input.
one more question really quick. Sorry.
Yes.
Brent said, when can IIDA California accept CIDs as professional membership? Is CCIDC accepting IDCEC CEU webinars?
Yes, definitely. We have always accepted their, for CEU credit, we accept it for sure.
And then the first part of
I
that.
I can answer on behalf of IIDA. Awesome. You can only become a professional member if you've taken the NCIDQ.
Can you say that one more time, Ed? Sorry, it was quiet.
Yeah, so the only way you can get a professional membership in the IIDA is if you have taken the NCIDQ. Mm-hmm. They will not accept the IDEX and your CID stamp as a entry to professional membership.
Nope. But if you are a professional IIDA member, you can use your, NCIDQ as to go through path 3 to apply for certification, but you need to take the Idex. So yep. You have an easier way to apply for certification. All right. Go ahead, Ed.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it, Carol.
Meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you.
We're
so
go to closed session.
Yeah, so I didn't start this thing. Oops, sorry. Hold on just a second. Hold please. All right. Thank you everybody for attending. We're going to go ahead and how do I participants Stop recording.